You have to hand it to now defunct developer Spark Unlimited. After Turning Point, Fall of Liberty proved one of the worst first-person shooters of the 7th gen at the start of 2008, they then bookended the year with an equally terrible shooter in the form of Legendary. Sadly, like the aforementioned alternate reality World War story, the premise here was interesting. The opening of Pandora's box causing mayhem on a modern day city could have been great fun. Instead, the experience is degraded by technical issues, poor shooting mechanics, and rigid level design, and even its most interesting aspect is squandered. A legendary misfire, you could say. Art thief Charles Deckard gets more than he bargained for when, after being hired to steal ancient artifact Pandora's box and its contents, he instead unleashes an army of mythological creatures, which transform New York into a ruined battlefield. After discovering his employer's intentions are less than gentlemanly, Deckard works with former Secretary of the Big Bad Vivian Kane and an underground force looking to set things right. It's a decent concept, but sadly the storytelling is poorly executed. A mute protagonist strips the game of character, while drab cutscenes turn the narrative into a slog. Unskippable cutscenes force the player to rewatch dull sequences, should a checkpoint occur before a scene, which is often the case.
Deckard and I would help the Council retrieve Pandora's box and stop LeFay's plan in exchange for safe haven with the Council. The enemy of our enemy had just become our friend.
The story may be poor, but the gameplay is even worse. After excellent first-person shooters like Modern Warfare and The Darkness helped move the genre forward in 2007, Legendary feels like a gigantic step backwards. The simple act of shooting feels uneasy, with weak collision detection and paltry gunfire leaving combat feeling toothless, if the shaking controls allow you to nail a shot. Deckard's options for combat are limited, with only a handful of armaments, a single melee weapon, and his possessed arm allowing you to stun foes. But even if you had all the guns in the world, the narrow level design allows for little movement opportunities or chances to experiment. It genuinely feels like Spark's shooter would feel dated next to PS2 era shooters, let alone the superior crop of alternatives at the time. You'd think that fighting griffins, werewolves, and minotaurs would offer some fun, but combat is spoiled by terrible AI. Destructible environments look impressive when foes can smash them, but oftentimes they get stuck in geometry or just fail to move. Human AI isn't much better, making poor use of cover and all too eager to stand out in the open. It becomes like a cheap shooting gallery, even when humans and creatures mix in battle, with little fun or ingenuity to each encounter. You could have fun at points with this one, such as the initial encounter with a minotaur, which sees the creature charging through pillars and requiring dodging to avoid, and popping werewolf heads to permanently put them down is gruesomely fun. But more often than not, Legendary is a frustrating and boring mess. It doesn't help that this might be one of the worst looking PS3 titles. A poor use of the Unreal Engine 3, a myriad of technical issues is galling to see. Pop in, severe slowdown, drab colours, and low-res textures all reek of a game from a gen before. The ruined New York landscape could have been destructively attractive, but instead it all meshes into a big mess. The slowdown only makes trying to land a hit even more arduous. The audio is also pretty awful. Guns sound like cap guns, the hard rock soundtrack is hilariously generic, and the voice acting is boring. Not so bad it's enjoyable, just plain dull. You have to feel for those who paid full price for this one too, as the game's handful of chapters can be breezed through in around 5 hours. 3 difficulty options are available, but to be honest, it feels like choosing the severity of your misery rather than offering more enjoyment. Collectibles strewn around the game offer more insight into the world and lore, but they aren't worth the effort. Lastly, a multiplayer component, which included AI monsters in battle, would shutter with GameSpy's dissolution. Frustratingly, this causes issues with signing in. If you try to begin the game connected to PSN, it instantly sees you listed as not signed in, and then, for no real reason, refuses to save data. You are actually forced to create an offline profile to retain your progress. Needless to say, this unintended extra hoop to jump proves hardly worthwhile. Legendary is just as calamitous a mess as Turning Point, a technically inept, poorly constructed first-person shooter that squanders its intriguing premise under a myriad of serious flaws. Ugly, frustrating, and lacking replay value, PS3 owners have so many better options, released before and after, that this one should be avoided like Pandora's box.